and the red lights are about to go on for a 15-minute race for round 16 of the Massimo Tyres 5 Club MX-5 Cup. Lights go out now, and the race gets underway, and it's a pretty even start from the two on the front row. Samuel Gorman from the outside might just be nosing in front, but of course he is on the outside line, whereas Martin Vernon, that Dayglow orange car, is on the inside line, but I think he is going to have to give best to Gorman. Yes, he does. There's some cars way off on the right-hand, or the left-hand side of the circuit, I should say. Drivers left of the circuit on the exit of Oulton corner, but I think everyone does make it through there. It's Sam Gorman leading, Martin Vernon second, Michael Pearce third, Scott Leach fourth, and Ben Short already up to fifth position from ninth on the grid as they make their way out of Cascades down towards the island left-hander and then on towards Shallows corner for the first time. But it's Gorman leading from Vernon in second.
Scott Leach, I should say, to the high side there, and actually caught the grass, so that was much deeper into Island Bend than he would have wanted. Held on to it though and stays in fifth position. Michael Pearce is involved in that fight as well in the number 70 all green car, but leading in the early stages, Sam Gorman from the outside of the front row. Martin Vernon, Ian Tomlinson, Michael Pearce all still involved in the leading gaggle as well. Big question mark about what the weather's going to do, because it just feels, even in our commentary position, a little cooler. Here's Pearce from a long way back down the inside and will get second position away from the 99 of Martin Vernon. So Vernon slipping to third, and already up to fourth position is Ben Short. He's come from ninth on the grid to now run in fourth position and looks to be, well, visually quicker than the three cars ahead of him. Don't really need a timing screen to prove that. As Short now cuts to the inside line and will bag third position from Vernon even before Druids.
Yeah, so Ben Short up to third place. Not particularly surprised that we've seen him already make up sixth places. I don't think he's quite going to get to the front of the field by the end of the first lap. He has done that before. Meanwhile, Scott Leach trying to make a good position, looks at the inside of Martin Vernon there. They're still overlapping as they go out of Lodge Corner, up Deer Leap now towards the end of lap number one of the race. And as they go over the line, it's Gorman leading, Pearce second, Ben Short in third. 4/10 separate the three of them. Bit of a gap back of about a second then to fourth place, which is now going to be Scott Leach. He's through on the inside of Martin Vernon, who's all over the grass on the exit of Oulton corner. Loses probably three more places as a result of that. So it's going to be Matt Hallam, Jordan Johnson, and the number 17 car as well of Oak Richardson all going through.
Yeah, another costly error from Vernon this time, similar to the opening lap where a couple ran very wide. But the aim of the game when you go that far off the track is just to keep it out of the tyres and the wall way over to the left, which thankfully everyone has done to this point. So Michael Pearce now leads the race. Another car further back, just dropping a couple of tyres onto the grass on the exit of Island Bend itself. Pearce maybe a sitting duck to Ben Short, looking for his optimal opportunity to outbrake the green car. Pearce with more than a couple of glances in the central mirror there to make sure he knew the whereabouts of Ben Short. Surely Ben will be able to pick him off, if not in the run into Knickerbrook, then before the end of the lap. I do like that favoured spot for Ben, which was Druids on the previous time around. He'll stay line astern. However, Scott Leach, he's going to run out of brakes. He's going for third position. I'm not convinced he was going to stop the car. No, he did. And now there's contact for Gorman in behind. So 128 nerfed almost into a half spin there by the number one of Jordan Johnson.
Nose to tail for the lead of the race, and you can't believe it's going to be long before Ben Short is able to breach the defences of Michael Pearce. Heading up towards Druids Corner now. The green car of Pearce, the white car of Short. Numbers 70 and 71 respectively. Numerical order. Is that about to be overturned? Along the straight, under the vehicle bridge, towards Lodge Corner. Is Short going to pop out? Is he going to make a move to the driver's right into Lodge? No, he doesn't. Meanwhile, Jordan Johnson now gets ahead of Samuel Gorman, and that is up for fourth position now. Last year's champion getting through to P4, but it is still Pearce that is clinging on, but for how much longer in that number 70 car ahead of Ben Short as they turn their way through Oulton corner. Leach in third, Johnson fourth, Gorman fifth. Amy Worthington there having a good battle with Jack Lawrence, who's off the road now in the number 97 car. Oh, and a big rodeo style rejoin there, pushing back onto the grass. Well, I should think I should think that's woken him up if he was in any need of that, because that was a pretty violent booking bronco there down the grass at Oulton corner. Anyway, it allowed Amy Worthington to put some daylight between herself and Jack, and Michael Pearce is still leading.
Amazing that some drivers have the confidence just to keep that right foot buried no matter what may happen, but you can never tell how uneven that grass is. Could have been a lot worse, that car, had it decided to just tip over a bit more, but still on all four wheels and pushing on. Sam Gormer, meanwhile, in full defensive mode with Matt Hallam in behind in the darker red 44. The bright orange colours of front row starter Martin Vernon continuing to slip back, but this lead change now. So was that on the brakes into Knickerbrook?
It was, yeah.
Completely missed that, beg your pardon. But Ben Short, it was only a matter of time to get ahead of Michael Pearce and to take the race lead. And that gap's only going to grow now with the greatest of respect to Pearce.
Yeah, so Ben Short it will be, who had his 13th win of the season earlier on, looking for win number 14. And of course, he's now at this point in the season where he's got other things on his mind, like the Autosport list of winningest drivers in the year, because he was somewhere reasonably well up there in the top few positions, so every win counts. I think he's up against some drivers who race in Legends, though, who have a gazillion races every weekend and therefore have a little bit more of a crack at it than they do in the Mazda Championship. So Ben might need to do some guest races elsewhere if he's going to take the title himself this year as the most winning driver in UK club racing.
I hope that's not scored on the number of points you get for a race win either, because as a Legends driver you end up with about 6,000 points, don't you, as a championship winner. So that's unfair from the off, but that's an interesting little tussle across championships. Meantime, so Ben Short's clear, Michael Pearce already out of shot. We are concentrating, well, Jordan Johnson's one to look out for in the primer grey colours, because he's just set the fastest lap of the race and ahead of Matt Hallam. There's the white car with the red roll hoop then of Ben Short. Clear by, it'll be more than a second by the end of this lap. Michael Pearce and Scott Leach getting very close to one another, plus the new fastest driver on the racetrack, Jordan Johnson. So he's just getting a little closer, meaning that scrap for second, third and fourth is condensing nicely. And then a small gap back to Hallam and Richardson, embroiled in their own fight for fifth and sixth.
Yeah, just looking at that Autosport rankings coming into this weekend, leading it was Stuart Black, who races in Legends. He's had 15 wins. Dan Brown in a Honda Civic, 14 wins. Piers Grange, 14 wins, but 7 of those were only class wins in his various Fords.
Do they count slightly less than an outright win then?
They do in the event of a tie. Chris Latham 13 and Ben Short before today 12, so he's now on 13, so he's joint fourth coming into this. If you can win this race, then assuming Dan Brown and Piers Grange aren't adding to their total, will be joint second, one win off the lead behind Stuart Black.
Yeah, so all the more important to get the race wins when you can, and this was one of the more difficult ones. I mean, you wouldn't get any more points in that scoring system, but it's also important to know where winning cars have come from on the grid. 9th to 1st, before half distance in the race, I think I'm right in saying. You did it very swiftly indeed, and now our fastest lap to boot, so you do get an extra point for that, on course for another 101.
Yeah, absolutely. 100 points to the win, 1 for fastest lap as well. In the MX-5s, it is very much a high number of points that you get for the win. 100 for the win, then 97 for second, 95 for third, and so forth. So there's not much differential between first, second, and third. But when you're winning pretty much every race, it doesn't really matter, does it? You're always going to be at the top of the tree. So a good battle going on here with now Jordan Johnson ahead of Scott Leach. Well, he was when I said that, but Scott Leach has got back through as they go through Ireland that time. Scott Leach just seemed quick at that part of the circuit. It seems to remember that he was in the earlier race as well. And he's back up to third, and it looks like Matt Hallam might also squeeze past Jordan Johnson on the way out of Shallow's Corner. That's going to put him on the wrong line though for Britain. So yeah, Jordan Johnson in the grey car does hold on for fourth to the moment. Then it's Matt Hallam fifth and Oak Richardson in sixth. Some talent in this part of the field. You've got last year's champion. You've got the other two winners besides Ben Short this season. You've got the very experienced Scott Leach and Michael Pearce, who's had a pretty good season as well. Coming into this season, he was 6th in the overall championship standings. So yeah, pretty good quality of battle here in this MX-5 Cup, Massimo Tyres MX-5 Cup, which has been the most well supported of the various different MX-5 Mark 1 competitions this season. Now under the auspices of Ben Hansey, who's taken over the running of the championship this year from Alan Robson, who stepped down and retired at the end of last year, having written the original regulations for Mazda MX-5 Mark 1 racing in the UK a couple of decades ago. What a legacy that has been, because there's been so many of these cars that have been built and raced. They've been a mainstay of club racing for about 20 years, since the early 2000s. Oh, and drops there, that's Matthew Short spinning off onto the inside, but who was the car that was with him that's gone off into the gravel? We're looking, it's sort of around the Jack Lawrence, Mary Barnard kind of territory that he was running. So we'll see if we can pick up someone who's dropped down the order next time through. But 4 minutes to go of this race, John. It seems to have flown by. Yeah,
and that 5-car train fighting for second position has jumbled entirely, because Oak Richardson had a very good run coming through Druids, managed to pick off Jordan Johnson, and he's also got ahead of Scott Leach as well. So Oak Richardson is now into 4th place, in behind Matt Hallam, who kind of made up the same places that Oak was doing in sync. So that was an interesting little dynamic mid-race. Still trying to work out who's dropped a lot of places. Well, did we deal with...
It was Tomlinson, wasn't it, I think? Ian Tomlinson
okay, dropping 5,
yeah,
yes.
I think it's probably him.
And we dealt with Matthew Short at the time as well.
We don't think we've mentioned 2 drivers. We've got 10-second penalties. Sam Gormer and Martin Vernon. Now, they were the 2 front row starters, weren't they? So I think that might be a 10-second penalty for out of position or jump start, possibly. That they've picked that up.
They may have both gone together and at the incorrect time. Pearce, Hallam, Richardson now jinking to the left in the blue with the yellow star, number 17. Then it is Scott Leach and Jordan Johnson. Johnson was sitting right in the middle of this pack probably a lap ago, and he's now right at the tail of it. But anything untoward happening in front, he may be able to react. Which side of the road should you choose, though? Approaching Druids, which goes right twice. But it's ideal, really, to take the left-hand apex as well. Just before that, Leach is the person that's going against the grain, and he might struggle to hang on to the place to Jordan Johnson here. Now, he can swing out wide and prevent that overtake from happening, but the net result is they're both losing ground on those 3 cars ahead, and meanwhile an off-track excursion for the 41 car of Alexandre Quachetet.
So we have got 2 minutes to go, probably 2 laps to go in this race, because Ben Short's just gone on to lap 7 of a now slightly more gloomy afternoon here at Oulton Park. I can tell you that Scott Leach has just made a banzai move down the inside of Matt Hallam, and there's a touch between them, and Hallam is sideways and he gets into the side of Leach. They're both off the road, allow Jordan Johnson to get through, and they're both very fortunate that that didn't turn into a bigger incident than it was. It could easily have ended up with one or both of them barreling into the barriers, which is never a fun experience on the exit of Oulton Corner. We've seen it happen before, but just about both of them, Hallam and Leach, surviving. But now Leach is off the road again. Maybe some damage to that car that's causing it now to handle badly.
Or possibly the steering's broken, because there was definitely contact on. Yeah, he's not continued. So a couple of cars able to get by the blue and yellow of Scott Leach. We're down to effectively 3 now for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, with Matt Hallam still circulating, but much further behind Jordan Johnson, and is his 44 car now carrying damage. I think had Scott Leach not gone off the throttle pedal, then it could easily have seen Hallam going fully for a spin, and goodness knows where it might have ended up. Here's Oak Richardson from quite some way back, but it might be that Pearce has chosen to defend too late. That is the case, and Oak Richardson, very close to the end of the race, will get into 2nd position. I was fearful that he wasn't going to be able to control that through the 2nd bit of Knickerbrook, but in the end, expertly done. And the blue car running, is he 2nd in the championship, Oak Richardson?
Yes, he will be, I think, probably after this.
After this?
Yes.
A preemptive championship talk there from me. Because Jordan Johnson sits ahead of him, or did at least, arriving here at Oulton Park, and he is 2 places further back.
Yeah, there's 5 points between them. So, and I think in the earlier race it was Johnson ahead of Richardson. So really, it's the gap's going back down. So I think it might still be Johnson second, Richardson third after this, especially now as Johnson has made up another position at the expense of Michael Pearce. So if they finish in this order, and Scott Leach is off the road again for the third time in a lap, maybe there's something in that broken steering, Johnny, then Johnson and Richardson, they'll effectively leave Oulton having in more or less the same position as they came in, although Michael Pearce is trying to make sure that's not the case by getting back up the inside of Jordan Johnson, which he doesn't manage to do. And now you've got Hallam, who almost for a second time in 2 laps nearly makes contact with someone on the exit of Oulton corner, but all is safely gathered in, and as they turn their way out of Cascades, it's Richardson second, Johnson third, Pearce fourth, and Johnson fifth. This is the final lap.
Yeah, last lap board being displayed to everyone as they headed through. It was fairly close to the clock reading 0, but one more lap squeezed out of it, particularly for Ben Short, because he's 10 seconds up the road from everybody else. Now going a little deep is the 72, which is being lapped. So that's not one of those front-running cars that we need to concern ourselves about. Matthew Short, who started this race in 18th position. So Richardson and Johnson duelling for positions in this race, but also for a very good championship finishing position on points. Michael Pearce now under pressure from Matt Hallam behind them, as all of a sudden the 17 of Oak Richardson had to put in some opposite lot there. Again, I don't think his car is necessarily handling to the best that it might, unless that's just how Oak likes the car to behave, dancing beneath him, but having a nibble on the top of the hill there, Clay Hill that is, and now to the inside of the corner known as Water Tower. Here's Johnson. This is crucial for the championship as well, not to win it, but to finish second. And Oak Richardson just about stays ahead. They're almost level pegging again as they head underneath Warwick Bridge for the final time. Yeah,
Ben Short just up the road. He'll already be turning out of Deer Leap. He's up and over the line. There he is to take the checkered flag. 14 wins this season for Ben Short. There's 2 more races to go, but who's going to be second? It looks like it's just going to be Oak Richardson from Jordan Johnson. So they've basically had a second and a third apiece, in though in fact they're almost overlapping over the line. Second and third apiece during the course of the day, so those two things cancel one another out. There's still about 5 points between them for second place going to the last round of the championship at Donington Park. There's some dramas going on a bit further back. One of the BS Motorsport cars getting a bit out of shape there. Was that Scott Lawrence's car, number 64? Yes, it was. Allowed Adrian Johnson to make up a position. So checker flag waving at the end of that race. It was a 10-second victory in the end for Ben Short over the rest of them. Scott Leach pitted, in fact, at the end of lap 7 after he'd been off 3 times within the lap. So he won't make it to the end of the race, but still a few more cars that do just need to make it up towards the checkered flag, the likes of Paul Barnard and so forth. But let's have a look at the results for those cars that have made it through already. 8 laps then completed for number 71, Ben Short, and he was 10.395 seconds clear of number 17, Oak Richardson, in second place. Third place, number 1, Jordan Johnson. Fourth was number 70, Michael Pearce. Then fifth, 44, Matt Hallam. Sixth, number 65, Amy Worthington. Seventh was 128, Samuel Gormer. Eighth, number 22, Adrian Johnson, ahead of Scott and Jack Lawrence. 9th and 10th in 64 and 97 respectively. Then it's Martina Ward, Ian Tomlinson, Mary Barnard and Martin Vernon. A bit further back down the order, Nico Favreau, Stephen Robinson, Matthew Short, Paul Barnard, Neil Burrows and Andrew Beale rounding out the top 20. Ahead of Andrew Robinson, Alex Squash T, Philip Barrett, Scott Leach and Stuart Dowson rounding out the field, although I think he was probably a lap down, Scott Leach, a non-finisher. So that's the MX-5s for this weekend. They're back out at Donington Park in 3 weeks' time for their final 2 races of the season, where the podium positions in the championship are still up for grabs, with Ben Short having wrapped up the championship already this weekend. 4 races still to come this afternoon here at Oulton Park. Next up, it's going to be the Nankang Tyre Sports 1000 Championship. Ryan Yarrow looking to complete a double at his local circuit, having had the win earlier on today. And then we've got the Clios and the Alphas, and the Formula Vs indeed. The Formula Vs, the Clios and the Alphas to complete this afternoon's programme here at Oulton Park. Plenty more good racing to come. Ben Short, I can see, just about making his way into Parc Fermé now at the end of his cooling down. Now, those grey skies do look a little bit threatening now in the background. And looking at the radar as I did a few moments ago, I don't think we're going to get away with it all afternoon. I think there could be some rain. There's a band of rain heading in this general direction from the south before the end of the day. We'll see how much of that we get. So Ben Short it is that's going to be into Parc Fermé, along with Oak Richardson and Jordan Johnson. Same top three, but in a slightly different order than the earlier race. Kieran Mogg will be busy gathering them all in for a chat, and we'll hear from him very soon indeed down there in pit lane. Just last few cars coming in at the end of that race, and there we can see the top three. They've all lined themselves up in Parc Fermé, headed by the number 71 car of Ben Short, with Oak Richardson number 17 second and number 1 Jordan Johnson in third place. Cars will soon be released for the next race, the Sports 1000s as well, and combined with the Cup 200, where we've got Ryan Yarrow, the winner from the earlier race, who will be not on pole position this time actually, because Clint Newman qualified fastest for that, but he and Ryan Yarrow will be on the front row for the Sports 1000 race that's going to come up very shortly. It's going to be a 20-minute race for the Sports 1000s. Just about now to go out onto their green flag lap before they come round onto the grid. But before they do that, we'll hopefully hear from Kieran Mogg. He's ready to go down there in the pit lane.
Well, what an amazing race for Ben Short. Started, well, 9th place, was it?
Yeah, that's right. 9th was called for the reverse grid. I suppose it could have been worse, could have been 10. And yeah, so we started 9th and had a really good race there with Mickey. He was a bit of a tricky customer for a bit, and then got my head down and tried to disappear, really.
Yeah, I mean, that race kind of, I think, was a perfect example of what this year has almost been like. You have pretty much been the class of the fields and almost have just been in a different league sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you need to say well done to all the lads who work on the car. I mean, the car has been perfect every single time. We came in with these new Massimo tyres, and they've turned out to be really good as well. We're still learning how to sort of manipulate them to make the car come on stronger at different times of the race. But I think, you know, hats off to JJ and Oak as well for doing some really good racing this year, and it's been clean and the way 5 Club should be.
Absolutely. Now, you won the championship earlier on. Clearly, you're not letting anybody else get the race win still.
No, I mean, you've travelled all the way to Oulton Park, and it's such an awesome track. So, yeah, there was another race available, so let's go and race.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations then.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Now, going to speak about second place, Oak Richardson. Now, Oak, that last lap, I think, was a mastery in defence, really.
I suppose. Yeah, I wasn't going to let Jordan pass. I could sort of see he was coming, but he was either going to try something and we were going to have a crash, or it wouldn't come past, and he won't come past.
No, absolutely. And how do you go about that? Are there any ways that you can kind of see what they're doing and react to that, or do you kind of have to sort of predict what they're going to do?
There isn't that many places to make a decent move here, and I've raced with Jordan for a while now, and I have a pretty good idea of what he's going to do in the car. And he's one of those people you race against, and you don't think you're going to get taken out, and if you do, which has never happened between us, but if you did, it would be a complete accident. So I knew he was going to go for it, but I knew it was going to be fair. And when you squeeze the door in certain places, you're not going to go past. So that was that.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the second place.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Now, Jordan, just very quickly, because we can hear cars coming through. Third place there, you had to come through the fields, and what a battle.
Yeah, I made it hard for myself again, but that was a brilliant race, to be fair. There was a couple of dodgy moves. My friends being stupid behind me now. There was a couple of dodgy moves, but yeah, I'm happy with the result in the end, to be fair. Minimal damage, so.
Absolutely. Well, second and a third place today. It's a good way to round out the weekend.
Yeah, not bad. As long as I'm close to Oak, I think I'll hold on to second for this season. I think Mr. Short's gone. No, I think he's actually won it if we do the maths. But yeah, awesome racing with these guys as always, and a great weekend. And I think we've just dodged the weather as well, so that's nice.
I think so, yes. Congratulations anyway.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you very much. Now, as you can probably hear in the background, the Sports 1000 cars are currently out on the grid. So, Ian and Johnny, back to you.